All right. We've got animals going in the background. That's my cue to talk. Today, episode 2. Oh, wait. Will this be episode 1? This is the first actual episode. So we'll call it episode 1. And it's really an introduction to mindfulness in relation to anxiety and panic attacks. So, beginner stillness, breathwork, meditation, and mindfulness through which you can calm your nervous system, keep your nervous system calm, and or rewire your nervous system to withstand what would normally be an agitation or threat, quote-unquote threat. It's teaching yourself to remain level, even if up until now you've just labeled yourself as stressed out for as long as you can remember. Using certain practices and techniques like the ones I'm going to be sharing with you in this episode will enable you to A, not get dysregulated to begin with, or B, not get so dysregulated as you normally would by taking the sharp edge off the trigger, if you will. If you've lived a life of stress and dysfunction that actually feeds, nourishes, even seeks stress because it's familiar, it's highly likely you've become habitually and chronically stressed. I know it. I know the feels. And you believe that it's just how you are. Well, that's not how you are. Okay? That's not how you are. You weren't born on the defense. You were born open and curious. You were born love and ease and endless possibilities. And you can get there again. Now, I don't want you to approach this as, quote, I have to unlearn and use willpower and force to not act this way anymore, unquote. No, instead, I want you to approach it as, I am open to learning and experiencing a calm response when it comes to life's various circumstances. I am willing to learn to be calmly responsive as opposed to succumbing to impulsive behavior. So by learning to really pay attention to your body's cues when you feel the needle of the pressure gauge, so to speak, go from green into yellow, you can learn how to feel this before, so you're not just going from green to fucking red. So we learn this through mindfulness. You can learn to make a conscious decision to stop before the needle gets a chance to make it into the red and you blow. So, in a nutshell, I've broken down 4 steps. So, in a nutshell, this is where we can begin to be mindful and very self-aware. So, step 1, notice and become aware of the emotional shift in you. Really kind of take a deep breath, and you can practice something right now. Take a deep breath in and out. How do you feel? Have you ever actually thought about what you're feeling in any given moment? Become aware of how you feel. It's like so many of us, we arrive at work, we arrive at the bank, we arrive back at home, blah, 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 but we never take the time to actually arrive in our bodies. So this is something to begin practice noticing. Just stop every now and then. Breathe. Check in. How am I feeling right now? What is this feeling? What is this emotion? Step 2 is going to be taking space in the form of a conscious breath. So if you notice that you've shifted, you've been triggered, you're a little annoyed. Annoyed is a good first, what do we call it? We'll call it an error signal. It's a good first error signal. You're annoyed. Okay. So that annoyance can quickly turn into anger, can quickly turn into a blow-up or anxiety or what have you. So say we've become annoyed. We notice, we become aware. Oh, I'm annoyed right now. From there, Step 2 is taking space in the form of a conscious breath. I'm annoyed. Okay. Before I act, before I speak, I am going to in for 3, through your nose, out through the mouth for 3. In for 3, out for 3. So in that singular conscious breath, you achieve a moment of stillness. Congratulations, you've done it. You achieve a single moment of stillness. You've shifted your attention to your breath, and if your attention is on your breath, it can't be on the thing that's annoyed you, right? So, you've interrupted the upset. The needle was in the green, went to the yellow, you took a breath, back down to green. It may take more breaths than one. This is just a quick podcast, but this is a good start. With that conscious breath in that space you just created, you can now consciously redirect the situation between you and whatever the perceived aggressor may be. And when I say the perceived aggressor, it's just another way to say the threat that your fight or flight mind has identified in that person, place, thing, or situation that has you upset. Step 3 is to reanalyze the reality of your current situation. And this is in the sense, sorry, my daughter walked in. So if you find that you're anxious all of a sudden, okay, if you were anxious, you notice you're anxious. Step 1, notice and become aware, I'm anxious. Step 2, take space in the form of a conscious breath. And again, if you can take actual space to do this, all the better. Step 3, reanalyze the reality of your current situation. You can ask yourself, am I really in danger right now? Or am I experiencing an emotional flashback? My next podcast will go deeper into CPTSD and emotional flashbacks, but for now, if you are unfamiliar with the term, an emotional flashback is a symptom of complex post-traumatic stress disorder, CPTSD. So much like a war veteran who has PTSD and may suffer from visual flashbacks in their minds from the horrors they've seen and lived through, an emotional flashback is similar, only we can't trace the feeling back to a specific event that we can replay in our mind. It's why it's called complex PTSD. It runs deep into the psyche of a person and lives in the subconscious until we do the work to process it. So this is a flashback in which your mind gets triggered and it literally pulls itself back to a time that you were actually in danger, abused and afraid, neglected and let down, but your body will then follow suit and mimics the feelings and emotions you experienced at that time in your young life, even though that was a long time ago. It has triggered something in you that has it feeling like it's happening again and in real time. Sorry, I got interrupted. So your body will mimic the feelings and emotions you experienced at that time in your young life. CPTSD can also be later onset in adulthood from long-term relationships as well, but it is normally childhood from which it stems. It's so important to be able to slow down, take that breath, and be able to distinguish this, because only you can do this for yourself. It's such an invisible battle many of us face. And this is the importance of becoming your own advocate and so mindful of what really makes you tick. Okay, I went off on a bit of an explain train there, so let me repeat. Step 1 is notice and become aware of the emotional shift in you. Step 2 is take some space in the form of a conscious breath. And if you can take actual space to do this, all the better. Step 3 is to reanalyze the reality of your situation in a conscious way. Am I really in danger right now? Or am I experiencing an emotional flashback? And from there, we can move on to step 4, which is, if this is an emotional flashback, acknowledge it by saying aloud or to yourself in your head, I'm experiencing an emotional flashback right now. I am not in danger. I am safe. Our brains are designed to protect us, and that's a good thing when you're conscious about its operation and are in the driver's seat, so to speak. However, when we're not aware of it and we're just kind of going through life, just whatever impulse comes to us, it will run rampant and operate solely from the subconscious. Take a person's fear of abandonment or severe trust issues, for example. They were betrayed once, very badly, maybe even several times, and thereby a big red button or trigger is a term more commonly used. I like to use big red button or detonator. But anyway, that big red button / trigger was created that anytime someone shows romantic interest or takes too long to text back, for example, that button / trigger gets pushed, lighting up that protective subconscious self-preservation part of our brain that screams, people are dangerous, or this situation is dangerous, or oh my God, this is happening again, abort, abort. And we experience fight or flight sensations in our bodies that a lot of times manifest as anxiety. And that anxiety goes unchecked, it becomes panic attack. You will either fight the threat, flee from the threat, or fawn. And fawn is just, you go fucking numb. You stay in shit relationships, for example, and you completely lose your sense of self because you're absolutely enmeshed in another person. And you depend on that other person to direct you and even tell you how to feel and what you're thinking. It's so terrible and an absolute nightmare. But, okay, we're going to wrap this up. For my next cast, I will go over CPTSD / PTSD trauma responses in more detail and how we experience that in our bodies. I thank you so much for supporting my young podcast. That is the third time I've been interrupted. That was my son, sorry. Where was I? Oh, if you haven't yet followed me, please do so now. And as always, choose wellness, you guys. You are worthy of love and you are worthy of the life of your dreams. I implore you, self-actualize and do the good work for yourself. All right, I'll leave you here. Namaste. Hello, interruption.